Cryptonaut podcast. My name is Mark Storrs, and with me as always is...
Robert Thomas Morphy II.
Robert Morphy. Uncle Bobby to me.
Yeah, Uncle
You'll always
Bobby.
be my Uncle Bobby.
I am your Uncle Bobby. I'm
There
the
you go.
universal crypto uncle.
Yeah.
Everyone can come bask in the church of weird shit and enjoy my company.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much, good sir, for joining us. Thank you to everyone out there who is continuing to listen and has joined us for our second part of the, I'm going to get it right, Aviation Enigmas.
Nailed it.
It's not avionic entities.
No, not this time, but it might be next week.
Yeah, you never know.
You can't rule that shit out.
Exactly. But as always, good folks, before we get started, we have some Patreon shout-outs to do for the good folks that support us over there at patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast.
Indeed. Will Godsey, thank you.
Thank you so much, Will.
Stony Soprano.
Hell yeah, Stoney, thank you.
Brian DeCruz.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Shelley Latour.
Shelly, what up?
Wait, did I miss a J? Is it Latour J, or is that a typo on your part?
That could be a typo on my part, but let's just say Shelly Latour J, and that J could be my fault, or that J could be part of their name.
Hey, let's find out.
Here you go. Shelly, let us know, and thank you so much for your monthly support.
Indeed. Chaos MMA.
Interesting way to spell chaos.
Threw me off for a second.
I like it.
almost said chaos.
Chaos.
But I did not.
All right, well, thank you.
Al, Dark Avenger Metcalf.
Hell yeah, Al. What up, brother? Hail and kill.
Fucking A right.
There it is.
Serena DeRosa.
Thank you, Serena.
The Handsome Goblin under Mark's bed in pink panties.
Okay.
That's complex.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad it's a handsome goblin, and I'm glad that they come out from under the bed occasionally.
It doesn't say that at all.
Okay.
It might literally just
True.
be permanently there, but the pink panties are a given.
Okay, yeah. I mean, pink panties are a thing. There it is. Thank you.
Hot. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
Leave
I like
at
it.
that. Bill Boozer.
Oh, Bill Boozer. Thank you, brother.
Bruce Forrester.
Hell yeah, Bruce.
Anthony Campos.
Thank you, Anthony.
N45 Records.
So they are actually a two-piece grindcore band or grind band. It's called Texas Shot Caller.
Oh, that's a dope name.
Dude, when I got this, well, first I saw N45 Records and I'm like, ooh, I got to check this out. And then I got a message like, yo, we're this two-piece grind band called, Texas TX Shot Caller, Texas Shot Caller. I was like, oh, and I checked them out on Spotify. They are dope. I absolutely fucking have a just pure love of grind in my heart. As a kid who grew up on like Napalm Death.
Sure.
Like in like Brutal Truth.
No, it just brings you to a happy place.
Oh.
I mean, now it's a point of nostalgia. Now that we're middle-aged men, who'd have thought, you look back lovingly, like in the 80s, it was all like 50s doo-wop or whatever adults were into when they were kids. Now for us, it's just this filthy, awesome grind fucking core metal punk. We love it.
Oh, God. Just like thinking back to like seeing Brutal Truth back in the day. I'm like, God, it was such a different time.
I know.
Things were different.
Cro-Mags of the Lost Horizon.
yeah, dude. I actually, not long ago, I took the wife to go see the Cro-Mags. But there it is. Texas Shot Caller. Again, check them out on Spotify. Boom. Thank you all. Monthly support over there.
So much.
Patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast.
You're the best.
We will have an announcement on the Patreon for the movie night.
Oh my gosh! Finally,
it's looking like we might be pushing it into December, but we're gonna talk with the mods. We're gonna get that figured out because, good sir, what better way to have a Christmas celebration than a viewing of The Prince of Darkness?
Oh hell yeah!
Yes.
No, that's a holiday classic.
I mean, it's right up there with Rudolph.
Regardless of the fact that it's set in sunny Southern California. There are so many. Well, it does talk about the birth of saviors and their opposites.
Yes.
And so it really does deal with a lot of biblical Christian Bible themes, and that is wholly appropriate for December. And as I've said, every time we brought this up, I cannot freaking wait because I love me some Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, so we will have that over there announced on the Discord and on the Patreon coming up soon. There you have it. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, folks, welcome to Aviation Enigmas Part 2, The Dead.
Oh my.
Oh.
First part.
The Missing.
The Missing.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with The Dead.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's get started with, during the Cold War, both Soviet and American military units were forced to contend not only with the strange circumstances surrounding the discovery of mysteriously downed aircraft, but also the terrifying implications involved in both of these seemingly inexplicable incidents. In this installment, we travel to the nearly impenetrable jungles of Laos to expose one of the darkest and most sinister secrets in American military history.
It's pretty heavy.
It's super heavy.
Yeah.
It's
a lot to deal with,
I'm
actually.
almost sure I didn't say implications properly, but you know what? That's Mark. That's how I talk. My name's Mark.
I'm all right with that.
You know, I don't say vegetable. I say vegetable.
Vegetable.
It makes my wife insane.
Does it
She
really?
hates it. Yeah, she actually hates the when I do it to piss her off. Thank you, Nicole. Love you. But if I get a chance to say vegetable, just to see the blood pressure shoot. There it is. I can't say words. Robert, good sir, you can. Let's get started.
Okay. As we did last week, I again want to give a big shout out to the Bedtime Stories YouTube channel and the Defensian M. Again, that's how it's written. I'm pronouncing the best I can. Media News Company Facebook page for details regarding these fascinating cases. Also got to give a big shout out to the History Channel page because I got some really cool shit from there too.
Oh, History Channel coming through.
Yeah, I know. I love
like it. All right.
In the last episode, we explored the mystery surrounding a downed Soviet-era Antonov AN-2 military transport plane that had not landed, but was seemingly placed fully intact within an undamaged cluster of trees on a desolate Siberian mountainside in 1961. Stranger still, when a unit of crack paratroopers were sent on a search and rescue mission, they discovered not only that there was no explicable way that the small biplane could have landed in such a fashion, but that the transport's crew had vanished without a trace. That's the missing for you right there. Without a trace.
Nothing gone.
With their restraining straps still inexplicably locked in place and leaving behind all of the equipment that they would have needed to survive. Furthermore, there were no signs of activity outside of the plane, making it seem to the recovery team as if the Antonov's crew had been spirited away by seemingly supernatural forces. It is an enduring riddle that came to be known in Russian military and eventually UFO circles simply as the plane in the forest. Today, we are going to contend with a nigh identical aeronautical puzzle, but with a few key differences. The first being that this one occurred not in the icy wastes of the Arctic Circle, but the humid jungles of Southeast Asia. The second is that it involved not Soviet, but American soldiers. And the third, and arguably most significant difference being that the mystery regarding what happened to the pilots and crew aboard the aircraft was less about their whereabouts and more about the incomprehensible and terrible force that ended their young lives. We'll get to all that in a minute.
All right, that's a pregnant statement.
Yeah, well, it's the dead.
All right.
That's not, it's not spoiler alert. It's the dead.
True. Yeah.
I mean, we knew going in.
I know.
Something was going to die.
Yeah, no.
That's not going to be a surprise to anybody.
Apparently it was to me.
I suck at surprises anyway. I always give it up in the first paragraph.
Nice.
Nearly a decade after the Russian paratroopers found the enigmatically abandoned Antonov on Siberia's Mount Kamenn, a group of U.S. soldiers allegedly made an even more disturbing discovery involving an American B-52. This story, like so many other incredible events that took place in front of enlisted eyewitnesses only to get quashed by superior officers or nebulous government agents looking to maintain secrecy and order, might never have seen the light of day were it not for the courage of the man tasked with leading the mission to recover the downed plane and any survivors, an Army captain and Green Beret by the name of William S. English.
Oh, that's a hero's name right there.
Billy English.
Billy English.
Yeah, saving the day again.
Yeah. Dude, he's showing up.
Jumping out of fucking choppers with a fucking pogo stick right on the head of an enemy.
He's got a cool knife and a pack of cigarettes. And you're like,
always.
Billy English. There you go.
God bless. Aces tattooed all over his body.
Oh, yeah.
For every lady he's kissed, every life he's taken.
Oh.
You don't know which. Dude, you're practically opaque at this point. The fuck are you doing, Billy?
Nice.
All right, so we know he's a legend. That's established.
I love it.
English, the son of an Arizona state legislator, was in charge of a detachment of 12 Green Berets, which the Army had designated as an Alpha Team. As any diehard TV-watching 80s kid probably knows, Alpha Teams, or A-Teams, as they were more commonly referred, were special forces units that were assigned to execute extremely dangerous, often highly aggressive covert operations against what were considered to be high-value enemy targets. And much like the fictional Hannibal and his ace team of TV vigilante mercenaries, English and his men were evidently very good at their jobs.
Oh, I love a good A-Team callback, man. Every time I see that van, I'm just like,
oh no, the music
sends me,
the music, and then
dude,
you hear John Ashley's narration.
Yep.
If you can find them. And I'm just like, oh, like the 9-year-old in me that's like doing his best to pretend sick so I don't have to go to school the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love it.
And if
just
you
comes out.
if you saw that group of dudes, you'd be like, they're up to something. They got some government shit going on.
Oh my God.
For real.
And I just watched an episode the other day that like co-starred Hulk Hogan and William the Refrigerator Perry in the same episode.
I remember that.
And I was like in my glory. It's so god awful. But I still remember just feeling the juice.
Dude.
Oh,
I fucking love the A-Team. God damn it.
so good. So damn good. Okay.
All right.
In June of 1970, English and his elite team were tasked with an extremely treacherous and technically illegal, so you know that's going to be fun,
All right.
search and rescue operation. In the briefing, English's commanding officer informed them that an American B-52 had been lost and apparently had gone down over Laotian airspace. Seeing as the massive Boeing B-52 Stratofortress bomber was one of the largest military aircrafts ever built and had the ability to carry a 70,000-pound payload of explosives capable of leveling an entire village, it was determined that it would be near catastrophic if the B-52 should fall into enemy hands.
Yeah, that's a big plane.
It's a lot of boom.
It's a whole...
It's a lot of boomsticks.
Yeah, boom goes the fucking dynamite. Holy shit.
To that end, English was ordered to find the missing aircraft, collect the survivors should there be any, retrieve any sensitive logs or equipment, then render the bomber inoperable, aka blow it the fuck up.
That's what you got to do, man. When you if aircraft to go down behind enemy lines,
You can't let them get that tech and,
they
and
still
all this
do that.
weaponry, yeah.
Like if a stealth goes down, they're like, nope, hit it.
Or a drone or whatever.
They just fucking blow the shit out of it.
Self-destruct.
There you go.
Once they'd finished, they would blow it up. This is just a continuation of the sentence, thus ending any threat that the enemy might exploit what they found against U.S. forces.
Smart.
So there's the deal. Before the briefing was finished, the superior officer added a footnote to the assembled Green Berets, one that none of them were expecting. According to air control, before they had presumably crashed, the pilots of the Stratofortress reported visual contact with a bizarre, brilliantly illuminated aircraft of unknown origin.
Oh, Billy English is going fucking dick first into fighting aliens.
Wow.
I
there
love
it is.
Yeah.
He goes everywhere dick first.
Well,
let's be
yeah, but
honest.
especially with the
Pizza Hut battle. Doesn't matter. Dick first with Billy English. It's going to be the name of the fucking TV show.
Dude, when you got to go to the Olive Garden, you always go dick
Always
first.
go dick
You
first.
always go dick first.
How else are you going to know if the Alfredo's going to burn you?
That's right, dude. Fucking, you walk in, you're like, I want my salad, my soup, my breadsticks.
Yep.
This is my dick move.
There.
There you go.
Dick first, breadstick second.
And you get arrested. There you are.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Okay, so bizarre, brilliantly illuminated, Jesus Christ, nice reading. Illuminated aircraft of unknown origin, one which left no signature on their radar screens. One of the pilots exclaimed that, and this is according to the recordings, it was a quote odd looking and covered in lights.
Okay.
Then, before he could add any further detail to his strange report, the radio transmissions abruptly ceased. So the pilot sees some shit. It's brightly lit. It doesn't look like anything else. Obviously, the Vietnamese did not have aircraft or helicopters. The Soviets might have, but This is weird.
All right, there you go.
Contact lost. Plane presumed gone down.
All right.
Orders in hand, English and his men weren't concerned with what the pilots saw. They were squarely focused on the mission in front of them: recover, rescue, destroy. After quickly gearing up, the crack unit took off via chopper from their operational base in Saigon and made the 160-mile trip, which presumably, this based on Google Maps, took them over Cambodian airspace, to Laos, where they immediately began conducting aerial reconnaissance near the B-52's last reported position. Before long, the team located the colossal craft resting in a dense stretch of jungle roughly 1 mile away from the Laotian border. Like the Soviet troops 9 years earlier, I'm referring back to last week's episode, the Green Berets were confused by the fact that there was no sign that the vast aircraft had crash landed. There was no trail of uprooted trees or shredded foliage behind the downed B-52. In fact, there seemed to be no damage to the canopy at all, and from what they could see from the helicopter, the plane looked completely intact. It was as if the Stratofortress had been gently laid to rest from a vertical position right in the middle of the jungle.
We got another goddamn plane in the middle of the forest
That just gets set right down. That's where that's why it's part 1 and 2. They could be completely different mysteries, but these are very similar.
They are
mysteries.
extremely similar, good sir. I like how you did that.
Well, I'm not the first.
It's like you planned it.
So many other people have done it first.
All right.
But I am following in the footsteps of well-heeled paranormal investigators, and I am proud to be there, even behind.
All right, man.
I'd love to take credit, but I didn't find them totally unrelated in different books going, son of a bitch. How did everyone miss this? That was not me.
You're like, I fucking found a common thread.
Could no one have seen this?
I found the common thread, goddamn.
Drop them in the woods. The sons of bitches dropped them in the woods.
I'm heading to Reddit with this, you fucks. You can't stop me now.
So yeah, Pioneer.
All right, cool. I love it. I fucking love it.
All right. The canopy being far too thick to allow for a landing, the Special Forces chopper, again like the Antonov AN-2 incident of 1961, was forced to land some distance from the downed craft. The moment they hit the ground, the Alpha team readied their gear and began their grueling, nearly 2-mile hike through the dense jungle, slowly hacking their way toward the plane. Despite all of their training and experience, these battle-hardened men were likely tense and exhausted by the short yet arduous journey. But once they arrived at their objective, all of these other sensations likely gave way to simple, frank astonishment. Although the view from above had showed them that the plane was essentially intact, the Green Berets were stunned by how little damage was actually inflicted by the vehicle's evident crash landing. Like the Antonov AN-2, the B-52 showed barely a scratch. But unlike the Siberian incident, the bottom of the massive fuselage was dented inward as if it had been dropped from height. Not from its maximum flight ceiling of 50,000 feet, which would have left little but piles of smoldering debris, but perhaps 50 feet or so, which did nothing to lessen the mystery of how it came to be stuck within the forest, surrounded by a sea of undamaged trees. In fact, what unnerved some of the men most was that a copse of trees seemed to have grown up next to the wings and fuselage, almost as if the shiny, still potentially operational plane had been lying there for years and a grove had managed to grow up around it. Another element that perplexed the already baffled men was the fact that the B-52's landing gear had evidently not been deployed in preparation for landing, which would have been the case even if the flight crew had resigned themselves to crashing through the undergrowth. Captain English was confounded. What on earth could have frozen a colossal Stratofortress in mid-flight, lowered it to the tree line, then dropped it like a stone? I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have theories in the end.
We're still sticking with the aliens, I'm assuming.
Well, it's a UFO.
Okay.
They saw a UFO. They stopped talking. Sure.
All right.
That's a gimme.
All right. We're there.
But who knows where we'll go from there.
Not taking psychological torment off the table.
Well, I guess not.
MK Ultra. There it is.
Oh, my gosh.
In the skies, even though it's not MK Ultra at all, but whatever. Fuck it.
Realizing they had a mission to fulfill, English and his Alpha team put these questions out of their heads and went about securing the aircraft and the surrounding area. After all, this situation presented the Viet Cong and their allies with an unprecedented opportunity for an ambush. Once they were satisfied that they hadn't walked into a trap, English snapped some photos of the plane before deciding to enter the craft. He and his men found that all external hatches were still locked from the inside. Knowing that time was not on their side, an explosives expert wired a door to be blown open in a way that would do minimal damage to the rest of the plane.
I want to be that guy where they're like, Mark, we got to blow the hatch, get the explosives. And I'm like, yeah. And then you got to do the math in your head like, I don't want to blow the plane up.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's probably a payload of 70,000 pounds of explosive here already.
So how do you what's the ratio of explosion to door?
Yeah, because you want a little, but you don't want a little. You can't have a kaboom.
But you kind of almost, it'd be a pain in the ass to carry the tanks with you, but like a acetylene torch, where you're just like,
just burn right through.
Yeah, but dude, you're in the jungle. You're the Laotian borders right there. I mean, you already went over Cambodia. You already did all that. You just got to have a little explosion, like a little sort of powerful M80, enough to dent it, I guess.
And I always see the explosive expert. It doesn't matter what war we're talking about. It could be the War of 1812. It could be the Gulf War. It's like a guy from the French Resistance with like a pencil thin mustache.
Yes.
He's got dark hair and haunted wide eyes, and he's about 5'2".
Yes.
And he just knows what it's like. Should I do my work? I do my work on my own. He has a little shitty French accent, and people are like, "Fucking Pierre, you got to hurry up! I know what I have to do." And he just fucking does it every time.
You've literally described the dude from The Boys. But yes, it is exactly that guy where he's got those eyes where you're like, he's not afraid to die. He's already dead.
That's exactly it. Oh my! So that cliche was. Yeah. See, I haven't seen that show except for a couple like early episodes. So I was like, that's the cliche.
Mentally,
the French resistance guy that knows the shit and it's like, get off his dick about it.
Yeah, dude.
Or David Niven from Game of Navarone. Jesus Christ.
Guns of Navarone.
Okay, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah,
classic jingoistic war fun.
All right, well.
So that was a huge digression.
Let's do it.
Pop the door. And they succeeded in doing it. Once accomplished, English and a handful of men cautiously climbed up into the darkened belly of the beast. It's not known if the bottom of the B-52 had collapsed enough to allow them access without stairs, or if they found some other way to climb to the entryway. But what is known is that what these seasoned veterans would see next would scar them for the remainder of their lives.
Oh, boy.
Being near the front of the aircraft, English and his team made their way into the cockpit and were immediately frozen in horror. What was left of the 6-man flight crew were still buckled into their seats, but the ample security offered by these restraints evidently could not protect them from whatever it was that had stolen their lives. English had been to enough crash sites to know that the kind of injury sustained by these men had not happened on impact. In fact, he couldn't even begin to imagine what kind of hellish force could have torn the skin off these poor men's bloody skulls, shredded their muscles and ligaments, or ripped the tissue off of their mostly broken bones.
Holy shit.
Bad scene in Black Rock.
Oh, man. That's fucked.
It's fucked up.
Right, yeah.
Cannibal Corpse fucked.
It really is. That's Hammer Smash face right there. Yeah. I almost said it's butchered at birth, but it's not. So, yeah. All right.
It was beyond atrocious, and was only amplified by the fact that the soldiers' flayed corpses and spilled guts had been festering in the blistering Laotian heat, sealed inside a closed cockpit for days, if not longer.
Oh, that's going to stink.
Oh, it's not going to be pleasant.
That's going to stink.
In spite of his shock and revulsion, the astute English took note of his surroundings. He saw that the flight equipment was arranged in an orderly fashion and that the instruments, as in the Siberian case of 61, were still set in their flight position as if the B-52 had made no attempt to land, but had simply been plucked out of the sky by some unknown agency and dropped to the ground in an isolated area that was miles off of their assigned course. Studying the ravaged bodies, English concluded that considering the horrifically violent nature of the injuries that were sustained, there was very little evidence of blood loss on the cockpit floor. He wondered how this could be possible.
Oh, because you would think that it would just be like the floor would be like the 10th level of
just sticky
gore.
Yeah,
just blood everywhere.
Like you're not even seeing the floor anymore.
Yeah, no, it's just a fucking red, slippery, gooey mess.
But it is not.
And especially if it's been there for a while, it's all congealed and gross.
Tacky. You fall in it, it's on you. You never wash it off. You never wash it off. You never wash it off.
Oh, God.
I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah,
no.
the explosives expert slips in it, and he hits the floor, and he comes up, and he's like, oh, cover it.
Yeah, Pierre's the only one that can actually handle that.
Yeah.
Like everyone else on the team, no matter how seasoned they are, is going to lose their shit like Bill Paxton in Aliens, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But fucking Pierre's going to be like, ugh.
Just
Sacre bleu.
Just some gore.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right. Well.
Yeah. Baguette. I don't know.
Baguette. All right. Well, there's our French. Our Canadian folks are going to hate us.
Yeah. We apologize to Quebec and anywhere else.
We apologize to Quebec.
All
Sorry,
right.
guys.
So where the fuck is the blood? I mean, was it tiny communist chupas? This ended in the little baby cabras?
Oh, little communist cabras.
Which, by the way, were captured.
Okay.
Only one.
Okay.
By U.S. forces.
All right.
Brought to a secret lab where? Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We saw what happened after that.
Yep. And then we trained them to go eat the Vietnamese.
Well, we tried.
We tried.
You can't control the chupa.
You can't.
No.
I should say the Viet Cong.
Yes, that's right.
They could differentiate.
Yeah.
Their political affiliation.
Oh my God, could you imagine the Papa Bawas of the fucking war?
Holy shit, Jesus.
All right, so back on track. Although Captain English tacitly understood that this was no time to ponder the unknowable, it's likely he was unable to help himself. If the carnage before him had been the result of a Viet Cong ambush, it was the most brutal and barbarous he had ever seen. But despite the fact that someone or something had literally stripped the crew's skin from their bones and inexplicably removed most of the blood from the scene, there was no sign that the savaged bodies had been torn apart and eaten by the razor-sharp claws and teeth of a jungle predator. So no sign of an animal attack.
No, but speaking of Predator, this does have the hallmarks of one of our favorite fictional characters, and that is the Predator. Because that is what they do.
Speaking of, therefore, ergo, booyah.
Ergo, Predator. There you go. And yes, the newest one. Check it out. You should watch it.
I do want to see it.
It's fucking awesome.
On Hulu?
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, like Primeval Fight Predator.
Dude,
I think I'm down with
it's
that.
It's one of the best, for real.
Well, it wouldn't be hard.
You know how I feel? Hey,
wouldn't be hard.
How I feel about part 2.
I know.
Can we not changer.
Christ almighty. Can we not do this right now? I am trying to keep the tension up for this wonderful story, The Dead, and you just keep fucking it up with fucking Danny Glover's a fine actor slumming away in Predator 2.
Danny boy.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
No signs of being savaged by a traditional earthbound animal predator.
Or the fictional predator.
God damn it. That, along with the fact that the hatches and doors were all locked from the inside and that there were no breaches anywhere else, more than effectively ruled out that the bloodbath had not been perpetrated by an animal. As even the wildest of beasts don't usually hunt for sport, and they never, ever lock up after themselves. Not an animal.
All true.
This to English's straight-laced military mind almost certainly left only one option. These men must have been killed in an enemy attack. Perhaps the horrific state of their comrades' corpses was designed to be a psychological attack on any would-be American rescue teams. If that were the case, English likely could not help but acknowledge that it had been a more than effective ploy, as he and his experienced team, despite all of the horrors that war had already thrown at them, had undoubtedly been shaken to their cores by what they found. Baffled and almost certainly a bit nauseous, English remained a consummate professional and quickly split his crew in two. Half would collect any operationally sensitive papers such as logs or code books and remove the still intact dog tags around the dead crew's necks in order to identify them, while the second team would be dispatched into the bomb bay to make sure that the payload was intact, rig it with satchel charges, and then to detonate it, removing any chance that the U.S. technology or explosives would fall into the wrong hands.
Oh, plus you got the payload. I didn't realize the payload was already on there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a big boom.
Should be.
Yeah, also, two of the dog tags off the corpses. Yeah, you know what that is?
What's that?
That's Predator 1.
Oh, shit.
That's how they determined what the first fire team was. They're like, oh, no, this is fucking Derek fucking Crenshaw or whatever the fuck the guy's name.
No, I know. They serve a terrible but necessary purpose. That's the thing about dog tags.
Yeah,
I mean, they're there for the worst of it, but I suppose you have to know.
Yep.
And it's also a badge of honor. I mean,
dude, when I was a kid, I was like, I want dog tags.
Of course, they look boss. You're not thinking they're basically corpse markers for living people.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I know. I was like, I need dog tags.
Of course, kids don't think like, and they ought not. It's about being fun.
We went to a local air show, the Wings of Eagles in Batavia, New York, good spot here, and we got fucking dog tags. I was like, yeah, this is dope, not knowing that, like you said, it's a way to identify me if I'm dead. So, yeah, weird. All right, well, I'm just going to live with that memory now.
Hey, the 80s.
Hey, what are you going to do? Technically the 90s, but it's okay.
Knowing that their time would be short, the commanding officer, that's of course English again, I'm just trying to use a different phrase here, used the camera he'd brought inside to thoroughly document the grisly scene for later analysis. The Bombay team returned and confirmed that the payload had been untouched and that they had placed and set their charges to blow. With that, English ordered his men to disembark the B-52, and the team raced through the canopy, utilizing the temporary paths they just hacked through the jungle, doing their level best to put as much distance between themselves and the ghastly spectacle behind them as humanly possible.
He's going to blow. You got to get the fuck out of Dodge, dude.
Within minutes, the Alpha team heard the dull, heavy, telltale crump sound of the explosives detonating in the distance. Still rattled, yet no doubt relieved to be finished with their grim task, English and his men made their way back to the rendezvous point and the waiting helicopter. The frazzled men climbed aboard, and one can only imagine the heavy silence that hung over them on the long flight back to Saigon. Once he arrived, Captain English dutifully filled out a report regarding what had transpired during their mission. Clearly, being a man of integrity, he left nothing out of his account detailing the horrible fate of the 6 American airmen and the inexplicably well-preserved state they had found the presumed-to-be crashed B-52 in. English reported that what he and his men had seen in the Laotian jungle had made little to no sense, and that he could draw no satisfactory conclusions as to what may have happened to the Stratofortress or her crew. English submitted his report, and, as happens all too often in cases where the magnificent machine that is the American military encounters something that it cannot comprehend or wants desperately to conceal, the highly respected Captain English instantly went from golden boy to pariah in the eyes of his peers and superior officers.
See, that's where they fuck up, man. It just kind of like all this shit that happens with pilots that
used to report a UFO sighting,
yes,
and then they're flying a desk.
Exactly. At least now they're like, okay, if you guys see something, say something, fine. It's like, did that have fucking years to do that, dude?
So many decades.
Like, you're literally ruining people's careers, and even something like
probably
this, like
thousands, if not at least hundreds of careers were ruined because they had the strength of will to report encountering a UFO, and they were still valid, good pilots that saw something, especially something anomalous and potentially dangerous. Like so many, that's why so many pilots do report these things. And then you're taking a seat, not because you're not competent anymore, but because people, your bosses don't want the embarrassment of you still being behind the wheel.
Or they just don't want to have to fucking deal with it, which is kind of like what happens here when he reports this entire situation. None of it clearly fucking makes sense. And they're like, it's not worth the paperwork.
Or conversely, in a more conspiratorial way.
Oh, tell me.
They're aware of something that's capable, like this device. Maybe it's like a weapon that was being tested, even though I don't know why it would be used in a friendly fire circumstance, or something like that they're familiar with, maybe because Valiant Thor told Eisenhower about it, where they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know that this report happened. You know that they're murdered. We can't have it out there that flying saucers are murdering, American soldiers wholesale in the most grisly fucking way possible.
Yep.
Therefore, we got to fucking make you guys look like fools and shut it down.
Goddamn English. I tell you, he's a fucking hero.
Billy English.
There it is. Billy English.
In the blink of an eye, this battle-forged veteran was not only relieved of his command, but was taken out of the field, where his experience could do the most good, and sent to the Royal Air Force Base in Chicksands, England, where he was unceremoniously shoved behind a desk and virtually forgotten.
You lost a good man right there.
English understood that he was being punished for doing his job to the best of his ability, and having the audacity to be honest with his superiors, and needless to say, this did not sit well with the rough and ready Green Beret.
Oh, we got revenge coming up.
Not exactly.
Damn it.
He'd been railroaded into a nowhere desk job, and he hated it. But little could English have imagined sitting in a dark corner of an office on an almost certainly overcast British afternoon that, as frustrated with his fate as he was by far the luckiest of all the men who had been sent on the recovery mission in the summer of 1970. After his redeployment to the UK, English received some of the worst news of his life. In what was either a very dark twist of fate or an insidious plot to silence good men who were simply doing their duty, English was informed that, not long after his departure from Saigon, his entire team had been wiped out in an enemy attack.
Oh, shit.
The fuck?
Oh, all right. Fuck.
I mean, is it possible? Sure.
Yeah, I mean
you're a special forces team under great duress in like very high strain situations where the odds are against you.
And you're in the middle.
And that's why you're the best of the best.
Yeah,
that's why you're a Green Beret.
You're working, your office is in the middle of a war zone. So it's not it's not like it's something that could not happen. Like, you're like, okay, yeah, no, I could see him get wiped out. It sucks. And it's definitely kind of like cool and, it's kind of like convenient to be like, oh no, the entire team's dead.
No, it's easy to hop on a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no, it is.
With this.
It
just go choo-choo. Let's fucking see where this goes.
Yeah, no.
But also, it really could just simply happen.
If the government had to have him silenced, so they just get some other Green Berets or some shit and dress them up as You know,
Oh, do you think they were killed by double assassins?
I mean, this kind of goes down to like Spawn territory where Chapel kills Spawn.
Yeah, I remember.
I've been rereading Spawn this entire couple last weeks, so I'm going to talk about it. But yeah,
those were great comics.
Dude, they're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so pissed that I gave up around issue 300, but I'm working myself back in hopes that it gets that early issue glean to it. But yeah, man, this could be just the U.S. having to, unfortunately silence these dudes in a way that you're like, I don't know what happened, guys. Sorry. Oops. Oopsies. Whoops poops. Sorry.
All right. Back to English. Likely despondent, guilty, and in constant wonder as to whether or not he might have prevented their deaths had he remained in Vietnam, or simply glossed over his report to say that the B-52 and her crew were incapacitated by enemy activity, English remained at his office posting for another 3 years, probably fearing for his life.
Yeah.
But as tragic as the fates of his fellow soldiers certainly was, the captain's odd odyssey was far from over. Although information is scant regarding what Captain English's official duties were while posted in Chicksands in the U.S. Security Service, which was the branch he was assigned to, he claimed that, while examining incoming papers, he came across a 600-page document now known as Grudge Report 13. Project Grudge, as many UFO buffs will certainly already know, of course, was, according to History.com's Colin Bettram, one of the earliest U.S. Air Force programs tasked with investigating sightings of unidentified... Nice word to stumble on. Fucking Christ, yeah, you're the UFO guy. Unidentified flying objects in the years after World War II, and was a short-lived precursor to the better-known Project Blue Book, which ran from 1951 to 1969. End quote. In his article, The Dark Connection Between UFOs and Grisly Mutilations, Bertram writes of the enigmatic Grudge 13 report, quote, one of the most shocking cases, the Lovett-Cunningham incident, which I know I say this all the time, but it is definitely one we're going to fucking do.
All right, I'm there.
Involves an American Air Force sergeant allegedly abducted by a saucer-like craft, after which his cleanly mutilated body was found in the New Mexico desert.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Bertram continues, quote, problem is, no official information on Report 13 exists, and the U.S. government denies its very existence. So its details are known only from secondhand sources who claim to have seen and analyzed the document.
This is where it gets a little sticky.
It gets sticky, but it gets really interesting and super stickier. He continues, one account came from controversial conspiracy theorist William Behold a Pale Horse Cooper.
Holy shit, the old Billy Cooper?
Oh, Billy Coops.
I mean,
Billy Coops together again.
Yeah, he was gunned down in his driveway by sheriffs.
Sure was.
I mean, there's a whole thing there.
I mean, a dear friend gave me that book many decades ago.
Oh, dude.
And I know it's probably rife with, I don't know, hyperbole,
delusions,
maybe outright lies.
Sometimes.
Probably
delusional.
Literal delusions. Maybe there's kernels of truth. It's a weird fucking, it's a rabbit hole that's interesting to go down. But you got to take it with a grain of salt, but you also have to kind of keep your mind open a little bit to wonder maybe some of this shit is accurate.
Here's the thing with this book is don't take this as a way of life.
No.
Don't make this your motto or mantra. Just read it and say what interesting shit does this dude have to talk about? Now, he did end in a hail of gunfire from local sheriffs.
He did.
So that's an interesting thing there, but
I've seen public speaking videos which are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And again, I can't speak to the veracity completely or partially. He's a fucking compelling speaker.
He really is.
He was intelligent. He was well-spoken. He really seems to believe what he's saying, which might add another level of complexity because it's not an obvious hoax, even though some of it might be.
Yeah, and as you...
Behold a Pale Horse is a fucking real shit show, rabbit show, fucking... phenomenal drive-in movie all rolled into one.
Because you literally go from all right, possible alien craft to, well, the alien government, which is run by, and you're like, shit.
I love how he describes the fucking moon bases.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite shit. The battles there.
William Cooper has some fucking bonkers shit. But again...
So enter at your own risk.
Enter your own risk. Go into this. Don't make it your fucking new lifestyle.
Yeah.
Don't put it in your Twitter profile as your fucking Williams Cooper fan number fucking 72 at AOL.net. Don't do that shit. Just go check it out, see what you think, and there you go.
Right.
That year of Crypto Uncles. Man, I bought my first copy at Walden Books in Armagh.
Oh shit! It was actually here.
Yeah,
like a physical copy.
Physical copy.
Oh, that's
yeah.
nuts.
And then I actually ordered one like years later because there was like a compendium or whatever I had to get. I'm like, oh, I need to hear more. And then I read it and I was like, oh, it's the same shit. Like, sweet. So
the compendium.
There you go.
Yes, indeed. All right. So William Cooper, who asserts he was tasked with analyzing the annotated version of Grudge Report 13 in the early 70s. The other, I'm moving away from the quote now. The other alleged person that says this exists, not alleged. The other person that's real who allegedly says this exists, of course, was Billy English. And a former, well, this is what he continues to write, a former Green Beret captain who says he too was asked to analyze the document while assigned to the U.S. Security Service.
Interesting.
End quote.
All right.
So, I mean, two guys, both controversial, both veterans, both claiming to have encountered UFOs while in service. I believe Cooper was a Navy man. Obviously, English is an Army. That's what
Cooper said he got all of his information was from being in the Navy, which, if that's the case, goddamn, he learned a lot while being there.
Well, yeah.
Like a lot.
Well, there's certain people that I always take. I know we're getting off the story. I won't go too deep. And I'm not even going to mention the guy's name, not because I'm trying to protect him, but because my memory is a sketch hole. But like dudes that are like, yeah, no, we have programs there with our aliens. And, I'm a psychic and I was constantly brought in to have conversations with aliens like 3 times a week all the time, even though there's no record I was in the military for that long or anything else. But I'd known since I was a kid that I had ESP because I was reading a UFO book and a Men in Black fucking, I don't know, tapped my head 3 times.
Which
I'm, obviously talking shit, but
that is a very common thread with some of these folks because they do have military experience, but then you're like, oh wait, you were a what again?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And you know what? There's a chance it's true. There's a chance that this is just the real esoteric way they took, kind of like the people ended up in that remote viewing program that was celebrated in the Men Who Stare at Goats movie. Project Rainbow Bright 13 Supreme or whatever it was fucking called. And that's fascinating. That's legitimately, even though I can never remember names, that's legitimately fascinating. And maybe it is this batshit crazy route that is your real life story.
Yeah.
But it makes it very hard when you're trying to be somewhat pragmatic and not just fall in to be like, oh, okay. It's a lot easier when it's a grounded, well-heeled, fucking dude. And he's like, or lady, and she's, like, yeah, this is what I saw, and the rest of my life is completely normal, but this is some fucked up shit, and we need to contend with it. Aliens are real. Then I'm like, okay. When someone's like, and then I flew with the one wing that was still good, until I chopped it off because I wanted to fit in. It's like, fuck. It might be real. You might be part angel.
Well, listen, kids, you got to be careful out there when you're reading this material. Do your own research. Don't take everything at face value, and always remember that half of this could be bullshit. Let's say 75% of it could be bullshit.
Sure, let's
85.5%, Rob.
Yeah, you're going
97.2% could be bullshit.
But boy, that 3 or 2.8 is sexy, hot, and real.
Keep your bullshit radar ahead.
Because all it takes is one.
It's all it takes
is one.
That's it.
So. God, that was.
Or you're going to read a book and ruin your fucking life. One of the two.
All right.
Be careful.
By way of confirming that he had studied the report, quote, this is back to Bertram's article, English dictated 2 audio cassettes outlining what he remembered from Report 13. And yes, again, we're going to use that as a resource for when we do that pod. And according to Military Encounters with Extraterrestrials, The Real War of the Worlds by author Frank Joseph, English also participated in a 1991 Colorado radio broadcast where they discussed his findings. Cooper's and English's stories echo one another closely, end quote. So I don't know if they were even personally related at all, if they even talked.
Okay.
But they both had the same story to tell.
Interesting.
After being discharged from the Army, English made his way back home, and perhaps being a bit jaded regarding his chances of exposing the truth through official government channels, he took the UFO information he had gleaned from his own personal experience and what he had learned as a member of the U.S. Security Service and turned to civilian ufology groups, and in specific, former Air Force consultants like the estimable Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
Oh.
Take it to the top, motherfucker. You're going to take it anywhere.
Welcome, UFO people. There you go.
And he showed them something that almost certainly should have signed his death warrant in the eyes of the so-called shadow government. Copies of the photos he had taken in 1970 of the missing B-52 and its mutilated crew. Apparently he saved fucking copies of the pictures he had taken.
Okay.
No doubt beyond top secret.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of his outfit is fucking wasted. by coincidence or design.
Oh yeah, that's a hey guys, I got some pictures, and you're like, oh cool man, Billy's got some. Oh shit.
Yeah, there's certain people that if they came into my life, it hasn't happened yet, but if it ever does, and obviously we're fairly well known in paranormal circles, if someone came like, I got to show you something, but it could put you in danger, I'd be like, hey, get the fuck out, turn the fuck around right now. No. I don't want to see it. I don't care what it is. I don't care how cool it is. I don't care if it's the 3-dicked marmoset from Pluto. Fucking go. You go away.
No.
Because I'm not interested in that shit.
Don't show me. Listen, I appreciate your own investigations, but don't show me your shit.
Yeah.
No, I got a lot.
You got family. I got family. We got families.
I'm trying to retire, man.
I'm trying to live. I'm trying to live and do a podcast with my buddies.
Yeah. I am not your investigator.
Don't put me on a hit list. I've seen the movies. I know how Hangar 18 ends up and the rest of them.
Do like everybody else does and fucking post it anonymously on Reddit.
There it is. And then we can find it and we can talk about it just like every other Yahoo.
You go. Yeah, perfect.
Big fun.
Excellent.
Okay. So it was Hynek himself who informed the former captain about the similarities between his experience and that of the Soviet paratroopers in 1961. See Aviation, Enigmas, Part 1. The Missing.
There it is.
This sent English on his own journey to find out all he could about UFOs. During the course of his research, English used his connections in the military world to discover that, according to an article I found about Project Grudge and Blue Book files on the now defunct skepticfiles.org, which can be accessed through the Wayback Machine, at least as of right now, quote, English, through contacts, was determined that the U.S. government most definitely supports a project dealing specifically with UFOs and captured aliens. According to what he has learned, the U.S. government captured a trio of aliens, and as of mid-1981, one of the beings was still alive in captivity, which instantly makes me think about Roswell.
All right, yeah.
And the 3 beings.
They got one of these fuckers?
Yeah, well, that's been a rumor all the time, forever.
Yeah, true.
Since the 40s. And more than one, by, according to different sources.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, end quote. Even more astonishingly, English claimed that, quote, at one point in the early 1950s until the mid-1960s, and this is a mind blower, the Air Force maintained relocation and debriefing colonies for people who had experienced close encounters of the 3rd and 4th kind.
Okay.
They were isolated for all intents and purposes for the rest of their lives. Adding, he doubts that these colonies are still in existence. Jesus Christ, if there is a heavier sentence.
Honestly, like there's relocation or re-education colonies apparently, and so what? I mean, a leper colony is pretty fucking hard to think about, but all right, but
all right, so let's think about awful. Like terrible things that have happened in the U.S. past, like say Japanese internment camps during World War II.
Yes, yeah.
To have the equivalent of that for anybody that has been abducted or has been too close to alien contact. Is fascinating because I can see why that it's not, let's just assume for a second what he's saying is accurate and it's true. Why they wouldn't be in existence is because it's too many now. And so you either just, you do probably what most people do, which is just make fun of them, disparage them. If they get too popular, make them look like loonies, all that kind of thing. And if they get too dangerous and way too popular, murder them, I guess, for, Murder Incorporated comes in and ends it. But it's interesting to think that in the 50s and 60s, when you want to think, not that the government of that era couldn't be just as dark and dangerous as now,
right.
But maybe they were a little more hesitant to take American lives. And so they'd put them somewhere in the middle of fucking New Mexico or Utah or somewhere where no one will pay attention. It's just a little village full of random fuckers, and they have all their supplies and all their needs, and they interact with each other. But if they get to a certain perimeter, I'm sorry, Sandy, you got to turn back. I don't want this to be ugly. I know you want to contact your family, but this is where you got to go.
Logistically speaking, that's a lot.
Well, but it's a lot now in with like Google Earth and all the information we have. Not totally untenable in the 50s and early 60s.
True. I guess back then it will be, because the laws and privacy and shit.
And you just didn't see as much. You didn't experience as much. People couldn't, a lot of people hadn't traveled. Most people still will never travel to all 50 states, but a lot of people don't travel that far away from where they were born.
Yeah.
And you maybe take a road trip to Disney World or something.
Man.
So in the middle of nowhere spaces, and who's to say, it doesn't even say in the United States, they could have relocation camps just like fucking Guantanamo
I was
Bay.
gonna say like Gitmo, yeah.
In fucking South America or Sub-Saharan Africa or Asia, Southeast Asia or someplace. Who's to say it's fucking, or the outback of Australia? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, that's all right, man. That's fucking.
Now that couldn't carry to now. Because especially after Woodward and Bernstein, but even before then, with people always digging to get at the truth and not trusting the government anymore,
right?
That shit, as you said, is untenable.
Well,
but once upon a time, it might have been slightly tenable.
Part of me though was almost like, yeah, I could still see that being a thing. Like, I mean, Guantanamo Bay, was a thing in our lifetime.
Well, think about underground bases.
Yeah,
I mean, but on the other hand, what I would think now is that unless there's a reason, unless these people are significant to an alien experiment, like some abductees and people that support it charge, like they're part of a hybridization experiment, and the Greys or whoever is communicating with the United States government is saying, keep these people alive and safe somewhere because we need them to continue to breed for us or to be part of our experiment, so they're not allowed to kill them. Otherwise, I think they would just get killed.
Right.
Like instead of really repopulating a place either underground or far away or there's no remote deserts anymore. Anything that's above ground can be seen at this point by civilians.
Although Google Earth still does do that weird blurry thing when the government tells them to.
That's true.
So,
but if it was just a little village, someone would be like, "What the fudge?"
I know.
So all right. So all that having been said, if they had to be kept alive because something, then maybe they would. Anyway. He didn't think they were still in existence, but I've never heard that before. I guess that's what blew my mind so much. I'd never heard that at one point in the early 50s until the mid 60s, the Air Force maintained relocation and debriefing colonies.
Never heard that either, no.
That's a brand new thing for me. And now for, seasoned ufologists, this is probably old hat.
Right.
But that I was really fascinated by. But continuing on. As a result of these revelations, English claimed that, quote, after he made contact with the ufologists, a number of attempts were made on his life. One of these included a visit from two men on motorbikes in the middle of the night who riddled his house with machine gun fire.
Oh, boy.
He later settled in rural Virginia, changing his name and taking a quiet job at a local TV station.
Okay, all right.
As to his whereabouts today, sorry about interrupting you, I have no idea. Perhaps he's alive and well and pondering the mysteries of the universe on a bucolic parcel of land somewhere in West Virginia, or maybe insidious agents of a dark and secretive technological cabal have hunted him down for daring to seek and tell the truth. Either way, the curious case of Captain William English serves as a reminder that we share our skies with things that we likely cannot fathom, and that those who tread too close to the real facts regarding UFOs and their perhaps insidious agenda do so at their own peril.
Oh, shit. There it is. Aviation Enigmas Part 2, The Dead. Now, real quick here with the ending here with Mr. English. Okay, so unfortunately, this is a possible cautionary tale.
Could be.
of skeptically. We're just going to go completely.
He is a controversial figure in ufology. Let there be no doubt about this. I always write my story. I want to take the people's accounts seriously, and I give them a sympathetic ear regardless of what it is. That's what I've always done.
But always keep in mind,
this is not who the fuck knows if this happened even.
Yeah, this is not an uncommon. I mean, Christ happened to Art Bell, for Christ's sake.
Sure.
And he had the same sort of situation happen to him where people were attacking him at his house.
Which was terrifying.
Which is terrifying, yeah. But
Rip Bell.
With our Bells, there obviously that could have been some stalkers or somebody being kind of fucking weird.
He was famous.
This dude being in the military, experiencing this shit, he could have just collapsed in on himself in some fucking PTSD, which is completely fucking understandable serving in the military for that long, especially in that era. I cannot imagine the terrible shit you must have seen.
And especially to be on an alpha team.
Yeah, and if you come out of this and you're just a little fucking, gnarly, which my sympathies to him, I totally understand. You could be spiraling into a dark hole of paranoia that leads you to believe that people are trying to machine gun your house. Unless, of course, there is a police report where his house was shot up by machine guns. Understandable.
Which might be the case.
But again, William Cooper was killed in his driveway by local sheriff's officials, which may have been his own self-fulfilling prophecy. Regardless, keep that in mind when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, though, because you have to be very, very careful when it comes to conspiratorial type stuff.
Yes.
Considering that they are no longer fun.
No, conspiracy is fun is dead.
Yes.
In our lifetime.
We
it's
lost
dead.
it. It's fucking gone.
Yeah, thanks, Q.
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
Goodbye.
It's gone.
It was all fun. I loved and too bad for JFK. I mean, the losing your life part and, the mourning of your family is terrible. But boy, those conspiracies were a rollicking good time.
I sure did like them, but then people had to go ruin them. So there we have it, Mr. English. All right, so starting with the plane here, going down, very similar, as we said, to our part one here with the missing. Very interesting, and it does sort of lead to, again, I know we talked about it last week, but like you have the alien angle or you have like the psychological attack angle. Because psychologically speaking, if this plane, I don't know, bringing it down clearly, I don't want to get into glider territory again because I don't know anything about fucking planes.
Sure.
Even though last week I had a PhD.
You had multiple HDs, including the P last week. But fucking... So we don't want to retread the ground too thoroughly because we were just there.
No, but
that having been said, it is weird. Now here's a key difference from last week. Last week we were dealing with a 12-passenger biplane.
Yeah, which
the Antonov, even though I know I call it Antonov and other things, and I apologize for that now.
The Antonovi
and AN2 is a biplane, solid small workhorse of the Soviet era. And so maybe you're thinking like this little guy, he crashes in the middle of the woods somehow. At a semi-vertical angle, doesn't really do any damage to the plane. I mean, maybe it's how high. Maybe the trees are only 10 feet high. I mean, no one's saying how big this fucking forest is.
It's made to glide, though.
But now we're talking about a B-52 Stratofortress,
which is fucking enormous.
Which comparatively, and so I mean, and that might also explain, like, if an Antonov AN2 is dropped from say 30 feet. Maybe it does minimal damage.
Right.
You get this beast dropped from 30, 50 feet. That's how you crunch the fuselage up into its guts.
Blow the whole bottom.
Especially with the payload.
And they're so heavy. Yeah, I mean, it would just blow the ass out of it.
But we don't even know if it happened. I mean, it's easy to presume, and we should presume. If I were an investigator at the scene, even though I never would be because I'm not qualified, but I would be like, oh, well, the bottom end is crunched. It's landed straight down in the middle of a fucking jungle. Yep. Ergo, the fucking impact did it. But when you're talking about something as paranormal as that, who's to say it didn't like run roughshod over the top of a fucking invisible, hidden to radar and to the eye UFO that was made of a material infinitely stronger than steel, and it just got crushed up in light, and then it was placed there. I mean, we just don't fucking know. There are a lot of variables.
No, but I mean, I think ultimately here, the angle that's been taken by the story in Mr. English here is aliens, clearly.
Sure.
Something. I mean, it's
but the UFO sighting to begin with,
that's enough.
It makes it very hard to veer away from that.
But skeptically, in going on the error of that aliens aren't a thing and that we live in a very dry, boring, not fun shit to talk about, even though a bunch of people were mutilated, but that's not fun, that's what I'm trying to say. All right, it is a psychological thing where the plane was downed and then the crew was, captured and tortured and fucking skinned and all this bullshit and then put back in place as a way to be like, oh, you're going to come rescue them? Oh, well, look at this fucking gnarly shit. Whoa. To psychologically freak them out. That is a possibility. That could happen.
Sure.
Okay, back to aliens.
So yes, with the fact that the B-52 claimed to have seen a UFO, it is undeniably associated with it. Now that doesn't mean again that it's extraterrestrial. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. It's just because we like to put things together, and because the B-52 reported lights in the sky, and then allegedly they were found, some days later brutalized. But then that brings up how often mutilation cases are associated with UFOs.
True.
And the thing about that is, as we've talked about this before privately, it doesn't happen that often, but it is not that uncommon either. There are a lot of cases where bodies have been found that have been mutilated and or, like we were talking like when we did the podcast about the guy who was zapped from the sky there and he became the incredible melting motherfucker. These things, happen, and it's not entirely uncommon.
Right. Yeah, and man, I mean, I guess, obviously in last week's episode there was nothing left. They didn't find anything, but in this you have the entire, it's there. Their bodies are there, they're mutilated. English allegedly has photographs of these things. They blew it up. They got out of there.
And where are the photos, too?
Well,
you have to
yeah,
ask.
that's kind of the
You
thing,
really
too.
have to ask, where are the fucking photos?
Being as sketchy and controversial as English is, it's like, you kind of got to take it, like, I guess with a grain of salt, but he did show it to J. Allen Hynek. So you're like, well, being that J. Allen Hynek worked for the government, like, you would think that he'd be like, oh, fucking hold on a second here. Like, maybe he would know. Well, maybe
no, J. Allen Hynek was...
Maybe he didn't know.
Let's all be very honest here. He became a spokesperson for ufology after he studied a lot of cases, but his main function as someone who worked as a consultant for the United States Air Force was to rationally put down thoughts of UFOs.
Trumpcast.
If somebody saw something, it was to tamp it down and be like, oh no, it was Venus, it was refracted light, it was from a street lamp, it was 13 seagulls, it was fucking, like you said, swamp gas. So J. Allen Hynek was not a guy that was like in deep with like the Majestic 13 crew, if indeed they ever existed, or 12 or 11, whatever the fuck it was.
It wasn't until later that he was like, oh, there's something here.
Yes, but that he came to that conclusion talking to real eyewitnesses. Yeah. So by default, he got a great ufological education because he was the guy on the ground, boots on, talking to the eyewitnesses who really thought that they saw something anomalous and maybe actually did. But he wasn't the guy deeply embedded in the government who knew the truth, who was sent out to debunk, and then eventually became a true believer and turncoat. If that had been the case, he would have ate a bullet.
Yeah. So I guess if English uncovers all of these different, grudge and whatnot, and all these different cases of, people in the military being mutilated or attacked by UFOs, I mean, part of me wonders, like, is that disinformation? Is that like almost like that project, like the Mirage Men or whatever, where they put out the fake information to kind of like fuck with people?
It's a possibility.
To kind of like just gum up the works, even where it's like fucking 10D chess, where they're like doing just really stupid shit to like screw with people.
Could English and Cooper, and not even necessarily both of them, but one of them, in this case specifically English, been like a Mirage Man, where he was, just because he was a loyal soldier, he was assigned to go out there, or even in a more insidious way, was he stripped of his, not necessarily, he wasn't stripped of his rank, but stripped of his position and his pride, and fed this information that is false. Grudge Report 13 isn't real, and I don't know anything about it really. Like doing research for this piece is where I discovered it. So even though I want to do a piece on it, I don't know it in and out. But, the death of another, American soldier, and he gets caught up in it. And so he starts disseminating this information as a true believer, though he's being manipulated by higher ups, which is a shame because by all accounts, he was a true American patriot.
The FBI has taken people and completely manipulated them into doing shit.
Of course.
And then arrested them for it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, if this is some weird government disinformation campaign, which they've definitely done, all right, that's...
But that would explain the grudge part. Right. That doesn't explain what he says is a real account of him and his team coming across 6 mutilated Americans in a B-52.
That's true.
And that's not, unless that seems to be extreme.
That
like sending, like a 600-page memo about maybe a fake event. 600 pages is a lot to write.
Yeah.
And letting somebody read it and hoping they do something about it. Right. That's one thing. But setting up, like, you drop a B-52 over enemy lines, even where you're not supposed to be fighting, and have murdered Americans on there, and you maybe forget to put enough blood on the floor, so that's where the lack of blood comes from, and you hope they find it just so one guy might later on talk shit about UFOs and throw things off the trail. That to me is much too complicated and violent to be a conspiracy.
No, that goes even deeper than William Cooper, which is the whole other aspect of this, where you get into these weird colonies where people that apparently experienced ufological events and shit are kept. Like, it gets really twisty at the end, because you go from weird plane mutilation to, oh shit, we've got literally a whole bag of fucking crazy just got unleashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be loosely based on a couple kernels of truth.
Which literally could, if there is truth in this directly links back to what he found in the jungles of Laos. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a fucking ton.
It's too much. And we definitely went off the path of simple aviation. But fuck it, we always do. That's the way it is.
Whatever, yeah.
But honestly, the journey starts with the down plane.
Yep.
And it ends up in an entirely different place.
Yeah, it does.
And I haven't done any legwork on this. Maybe everyone knows where William S. English is today.
Right.
Maybe the assumed name, and I don't know why you get an assumed name and then say you work at a TV station in a relatively small state, especially back, whenever he did it in the 80s or 90s, because you can be tracked down pretty fucking easily if you do that.
And unfortunately, that completely could be a falsehood.
It could be a complete lie.
That could
he could be out on the UFO circuit right now, for all I know.
Yeah, that could be a complete fucking pile of shit for all we know.
He could be having a Hoppin' MySpace page. I don't fucking know. So it's up to, if someone out there is curious and they really want to dig deep, please do it and let us know. But as far as 2 aviation enigmas,
yeah, it is bizarre.
Regarding planes that go down oddly vertically in very remote and isolated regions, in wooded areas that confirm that they did not come in for a glide or a crash. They were dropped, one of which the soldiers are missing, and that happens to the Soviets.
Yeah.
And one of which has the soldiers mutilated, and that happens to the Americans. That means it's not a partisan in the Cold War.
No, it's literally just like planes in war zones.
Which doesn't mean that it was done by the same entities at all.
I mean, maybe not the same entities, but it seems as though they have the same fucking method here.
Well,
where it's
in
like
terms of incapacitating a plane, yes, I agree.
And then obviously the one plane that people are gone. This plane, they're a Cannibal Corpse record cover.
But the people that were gone could have been mutilated somewhere else.
Ah, that's true.
Maybe they just took
in the
them
jungle,
up, ate them, did whatever the fuck they did. Even though there was no sign of eating.
Yeah.
Maybe they just got, stopped before they ate. Maybe they were just like peeling them off like a banana, getting the skin down, getting ready to munch. And then all of a sudden these Green Berets come howling out of the woods. I'm sure they were not howling. And they could hear the bramble crack. They could smell the Rambo in the air. And they're like, fuck, let's get out of here. I was so hungry.
Oh, Jesus. Well, yeah.
All respect to the dead. So yeah, the skies are fucked up.
Yep. Be careful.
War is fucked.
Yep.
Missing planes are fucked.
And be careful what weird conspiracy holes you go down. Because, God damn it, that shit can be fun, but shit can also get sideways on you. There you have it. Thank you all so very much for joining us again. This is Avian Enigmas Part 2. I'm sorry, Aviation
Enigmas. There it is, buddy.
Why did I fucking Avian? God damn.
You want to think birds.
Aviation Enigmas Part 2, The Dead. Thank you all so very much for tuning in to the Cryptonaut Podcast.
You're the best.
We appreciate it. Before we got out of here, Robert, we had to give a very special thank you to a good buddy of ours here, Miss.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sarah Cooper. You see what I'm pointing to over here?
Snallygaster. Oh, thank you for making me hot, Sarah Cooper.
Yes.
You're the best. I would definitely lose 1.5 feet of height if I could be that buff.
The American Snallygaster Museum. Check that out. Sarah runs that. And yeah, the crypto hunks, myself, you and Chris apparently are crypto hunks, which is super cool. She sent us some awesome stickers.
Yeah, with Crocs.
Yeah, with Crocs, which is so dope. It's so fucking cool. And she made us this blanket, which actually it is for sale. I'm bringing their website up right now, actually. And Sarah Cooper, again, part of the Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls. This is the Snallygaster Studios on Etsy. And yeah, I'm trying to bring the goddamn
it's
page
fucking
up here.
Magnificent.
It's fucking awesome.
It is
so
It is
cool.
eye candy galore. It is beautiful, and I could not be more entranced. Sarah, you're a fucking goddess.
Yeah, and if you want to get yourself one of these blankets here, I'm going to toss a link in the description of this podcast. And it is a blanket again of myself, Christopher, and Robert as crypto hunks. It is extremely comfortable.
It's so soft. Yeah, we've wrapped ourselves in it both. Yes.
Yeah. We did wrap ours. I was so excited to get here to show this to Robert. I'm like, let's get pictures and wrap ourselves in it quick. Also, too, Sarah made a scrunchie. Like a hair, if I still had long hair.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd be dope. It was a cool scrunchie, and she has a bunch of cool merch over there. So we're going to put all of Sarah's links in the description of this podcast. You can check that out over there. Sarah, thank you so very much. We appreciate it. Holy shit, it is so dope. I actually opened this up where we get our mail to show everybody, and they're like, you got a fucking blanket made you? I was like, yeah, motherfucker, I do. Yeah, and that ain't me. No. I did not look like that.
That ain't none of us, but it's awesome.
It's the best part. You're so tiny and so cut.
I know, super cut.
I love it. You're like 5'2". That's great.
Oh, it's the best.
Oh man. As always, we're on the Instas and the Twitters and the Facebooks. We're there and the socials doing it. Be sure to check it out there. We appreciate that. Patreon.com/Cryptonaut Podcast. Thank you to everyone that supports us over there. Be on the lookout for a rescheduled Prince of Darkness. We will. I know we said it fucking twice so far, possibly 3 times. We will have a reschedule on that coming very soon in December as a little Christmas present.
Yes.
Because it's going to be our own personal Christmas present as a Christmas show.
That's true.
With the Prince of Darkness.
There it is.
It fucking worked.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Bow and all.
Yeah, killed it. There it is. Also, too, because the holidays are coming up, it's so crazy to think it's already happening.
Yeah, it's Mad November now.
There's going to be all kinds of sales on all of our merch stores, whether it's hellerspace.com, which will bring you to our TeePublic shop, or cryptonautmerch.com, which will bring you over to our CrowdMade shop. Be on the lookouts. There will be, sales happening all over the place. They will, if you're already bought something, they're going to definitely send you an email being like, hey, look, it's 35% off, or hey, it's 10% off, or whatever. So to be sure to do that. What I was getting to, Robert, is the holidays are here. What better way to celebrate the holidays than getting Mima a bunch of fucking cool Cryptonaut merch? Like, get her a whole wardrobe.
Why not?
I mean, at some point we're going to have sweatpants. I've already looked into it. It could possibly be a thing.
Oh my God.
Same thing with leggings
changed
for the
my
ladies.
life.
Yeah, dude. So we'll look into that eventually. But yeah, get yourself some Cryptonaut merch over there at those two locations. The links for that, again, will be in the description of this podcast. And everything we talk about in the show, whether it's Patreon or our website or the Instas or, awesome things that like Sarah sent us, will always be in the description of the podcast.
Always. Yeah.
Always check that out because there's always cool shit in there. And it connects you all up to everybody. So yeah, there it is. Thank you all so very much.
Indeed.
And good sirs, and ladies and peoples and folks out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking to y'all very soon.
All kinds of sundry
All kinds
entities.
of people. All kinds of folks. All kinds of
We
people.
love you all.
We love y'all.
And to our fans in the hollow moon, keep your chins up.
Yeah, good luck getting that Spotify up there. You're going to need it.
Hell yeah.
We'll be talking to you.
See ya.
See y'all later. I want to do an accent. I don't know. I'm going to see y'all later. I'm going to love y'all. I love y'all. I love everybody.
All right, that's all right.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound natural coming out of you.
It really
to be honest.
doesn't.
Yeah.
No. I was going to go Chicago too, but I just couldn't pull it
Yeah,
off.
I can never do an intentional accent except an accidental fake New York circa
Hey,
19. Hey, what's up there, you fucking guy doing
I
your
love
thing?
fucking Timmy Boots. I fucking
Timmy
love it.
Boots.
Bobby Hammers. We'll be talking.
Oh, Jesus.
Peace.
Bye.
Hey guys, guess what? We're back with a little bit of a postscript here. Rob and I, after the episode, just did a little bit of digging here while we were talking about Mr. Billy English and Robert.
Well, here's the thing. We can't be expected to actually do all of our research before a pod, can we?
It's always afterward.
That's a
Ah,
bullshit.
shit.
So we're just like Googling around, dicking around. And so, all right. So it turns out Mark and I have been hemming and hawing. We've been looking at like contrasting and comparing photos. We mentioned that he's a controversial figure in the UFO scene.
Yep.
He might be a controversial figure in the real world scene.
Yeah.
He might be a little bit sus.
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know. We don't know if it's the same guy. We don't know what's going on.
This is typical like UFO stuff where we're like, well, we saw a picture of a guy that could be a picture of a dude on Facebook who's definitely kind of super fucking controversial about shit. So
We're getting like, we totally got cold case filed.
We totally
We're, like,
did.
comparing like photos from 1974 to 2016. So here's the deal. It doesn't really change anything. The story is a very famous story. It's an important story in ufology, especially if who knows it's true. But it, as was mentioned in the pod, much like, Bill Cooper, Billy English is a controversial fucking figure. And take the story as it is and realize that a lot of times we don't vet anything until long after the fact. So we're still going to release it, and you're still hearing this right now. And, hey, life is messy, and some people are too.
And
really, really shitty messy.
And, welcome to ufology, where occasionally you come across people that you're like, oh, cool, what's this guy about? And then you're digging in, and then you're like, ah, shit. And you hit a Facebook profile that you're like, ah, fuck.
And it may or may not, but I think it is.
We honestly have no clue if it's him.
We don't even know. We're
fucking wrong dude completely. That's how fucking... That's amazing. You know what that is, folks, right there? That is fucking real deal podcasting after the fact, looking shit up, and then going, oh no.
Did we just do this for an hour and a half?
We may have.
Fuck.
Yeah, but whatever. It is what it is. Again, ufology is filled with controversial people, as we all know.
As is life.
There you have it. Thank you for listening to our postscript.
Jesus Christ. I know, man.
That's great.
UFOs.
I mean, hey, again, it could be a completely different dude.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So I don't know what this is supposed to do. This doesn't warn. This is not a trigger warning. This is like
No.
a postscript. Hey, we're fuck ups.
Yeah,
See what happens.
Occasionally you happen to look up something and find us on Facebook. You're like, oh, we better mention this. So there you go. We'll be talking to y'all soon.